Good afternoon. I'm Yvonne Williams, President of the Greater Macon Chamber of Commerce. We invite you to have a great engagement with us today with our town hall meeting. We hope you're safe and you're at home and you're thinking about your home in Macon, Bibb. I'm so pleased today to have our chairwoman, Julia Magda, who will make special remarks and introductions of our very important guest.
Thank you, Yvonne, for that introduction, and good afternoon to all of our participants. I'm pleased this year to be the chairman of the Board of Directors for the Greater Macon Chamber of Commerce. Like many of you, I'm a small business owner with a private law firm, but I'm encouraged by the level of support from our chamber, our local foundations, and our other community leaders as we work with everyone to push us into economic recovery in the coming days. Many of you know that I'm the wife, the sister, and the daughter-in-law of public educators. I have the greatest respect for our teachers who have been asked to pivot and retool the delivery of their instructional content with creativity and positivity so that our students continue making forward progress. I'm grateful for those students who are rising to this challenge and consequently are learning new skills that will serve them well in the employment workforce. I have deep gratitude for our nutrition workers who are rolling out meals for these children, and I'm thankful for our administrators and our support staff who are keeping the trains on the tracks, even as the track is being laid in new territory. Chief among those administrators is my friend Curtis Jones, whose inspiration and leadership are critical every day in Bibb County, but especially in these uncertain times. Dr. Jones is a passionate educator dedicated to developing students as scholars, leaders, and good citizens. He joined the Bibb County School District in April 2015 and was named Georgia Superintendent of the Year in December 2018 and National Superintendent of the Year in February 2019. Using his classroom and administrative experience, Dr. Jones developed the Bibb County School District's strategic plan, Victory in Our Schools. As superintendent, he works to ensure the district's instructional practices meet the needs of students and prepare them to be college or career ready. Early on, he established one of the district's main priorities as getting students reading on grade level, and this effort has resulted in student growth on the Georgia Milestones assessments and an increase in the percentage of students reading on grade level. When he joined the district, Dr. Jones set one of his first long-term goals as raising the district's graduation rate to 90% by 2025. The district has made great gains in improving its graduation rate, which was 58.9% in 2014. The class of 2019 had a graduation rate of 79.4%, and 6 of the district's 7 high schools had graduation rates greater than 80% in 2019, putting the district on track to achieving this goal. Under his leadership, the Bibb County School District has been cited for its work to advance the district and its students. Among those achievements, recently 2 Bibb elementary schools were recognized as National Distinguished Title I schools. We are pleased to welcome Dr. Jones to today's town hall meeting.
Thank you. Very happy to be here with you. I want to begin by saying how blessed and privileged I am to be the superintendent here in Bibb County. As we have taken this work from 2015 to where we are today, we're excited about what we've been able to see. I want everyone to know that I believe we have great administrators who are working very hard to make sure the schools that they have are the same kind of schools that they want for their own children. We also have the same type of teachers in our schools as well. Teachers have gone back to school, have gotten advanced degrees, and are continuing to work very hard to ensure that they provide the best instruction possible for their students. But you know, we have learned that in a school, it takes more than just principals and teachers. It takes everyone. The paraprofessionals who are in the buildings are doing great work, and many of them have decided to go back to school to become educators as well, teachers of their own classrooms. The front office workers are providing great customer service, and we continue to emphasize how important we think it is. We believe that when parents come to the classroom or come to the school, they need to know how valuable we think they are to their child's education. After all, parents are the first teacher of their children. But schools have to be clean. They have to be well maintained, and that's what our custodial staff has done. And along with our facilities and grounds, we believe now that our schools are places and points of pride throughout our community. We also continue to look at those who provide the transportation for our students to get them to school safely. And we look at the number of accidents that we have, as well as all the other awards that we can do to ensure students get from home to school well. I know it's been a struggle. When I arrived, we had a great challenge of making sure schools could start on time. I had principals who told me, I can't start school because the buses haven't arrived. So we had to change the way we had school start. So we went to a 3-tier system. The community responded greatly, and we're very appreciative of that. I think part of the success we've had has been because the community has helped us in that way. It was mentioned during the introduction that we had a priority for letting students learn to read, and that was great. I have to thank the United Way for helping us in that effort, where we've been able to bring sponsors and other advisors and mentors into our schools to work with our students. Some of the most at-risk students that we have. It's so important that they can learn to read by the end of 3rd grade, and we have seen dramatic improvements in that area. And lastly, I have to tell you, I believe we have a great Board of Education. Our Board of Education has continued to be very supportive of me, as well as the initiatives that we put in place. It takes a village to raise a child, and without a Board of Education providing the leadership and the stability, we would be in great trouble. So I want to thank all those who are part of our process, and I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Thank you, Dr. James. As part of this format, we were able to allow people to submit questions over the last few days of things that are on their mind, and especially as they think about the community, the pandemic, and how we come together to make things better. So I'd like to share a few of these questions for your response, and I know our audience will be very pleased to have this one-on-one opportunity with you as the history makes a history today in this environment. One of the questions was, what do you see as a role for the community to come together with the schools to help with resources? What are the kind of resources you envision needed in the upcoming months as we work as public-private partners?
Thank you so much. The Board of Education and I are working now on our budget for next school year. And part of that budget is going to ensure that we have the resources that we need for the future. With this pandemic that's happening, I'll be honest, the great challenge is technology. How we're able to provide internet access, as well as how we can provide devices to all of our students. We had a plan in place to go from bring your own device to having a one-to-one initiative starting in January of next year, when the new e-splosh would go into effect. But we now know that's a little bit too late. We had to start using one-to-one now as we were going through this pandemic. So the community can help us by ensuring that if you buy a device for your child, make sure it's compatible with what the school system does. I'll be honest, I had not thought about sharing that before. But when we send our children to college, we're told, if you're going to get them a computer, it needs to meet these specifications. I need to be clearer now with the community for what those need to be. And so we will start sharing that type of information. I also think the community can help us as we're trying to make sure that as students are engaged in, I'm going to say, off-campus activity, they continue to look out for one another. We have to be civil to one another. We have to care for one another. And too many students are still victims of bullying, and we need to be able to help students recognize that what they say on Facebook or what they do on Twitter or with anything else affects what happens in the school. And so the community can help us in that way by recognizing that we're all in this together.
Very good observation. You know, this is going to be a very big challenge with people that will have psychological needs all across the community. So you bring up a really good point of the students at risk that need our help. Having said that, there may be students that won't have access to technology, or we need to have broadband expanded where they do have places for technology. What are your thoughts for the community as how do we make a strategy become a very important factor in our development process?
So Cox Communication has been very supportive of us in this effort. They were able to take their 2 Connect program, and they allowed students who were a part of our free and reduced lunch program, or either in the SNAP program or other programs by the federal government, to receive basically internet free, and normally costs $9.99 a month. That has been a great benefit to us. It also has been beneficial that they increased the amount of the bandwidth that those students had as well. And so as those programs and initiatives were put in place, we were able to see better results on our desire to do e-learning. And so we're very happy about that. I just think we're going to have to continue to be focused in that area and see what we can do to continue to spread that. I think as other businesses are thinking about putting in hotspots in places where people can get free Wi-Fi, it will help as well. If we could become a Wi-Fi wide community, if students have one-to-one devices and take them wherever they want, then they'll be able to always get to the internet, and we will see improvement in education. And so I'm hopeful that we can see that expand as well.
Do you see the state providing more resources from the state level as they're having these discussions for the local districts?
They will try. They're focused greatly now on the rural areas of Georgia. They believe that wideband and a program we have that's called E-rate is already in place in urban areas like us. But we also know we have spots that are missing that don't have internet as well. So we need to be more focused in helping in that regard. So I'm hopeful that we'll just be able to get better coverage throughout the community. So no matter where you are, you can get to the internet and have high-speed internet broadband.
You've also been a very strong supporter with your team on virtual technology. In fact, you provided a resolution of support for partnering for virtual technology in the future. How do you see that as playing as part of your platform as you're going forward with connecting your school district systems, your principal activities, and some of the teaching elements?
So I think the use of technology for the classroom and to flip the classroom is going to be very vital to how we move forward. I think the way we've seen it in the past, where everybody comes to school every day and that's the only way you learn, is probably a thing of the past. We're looking now at trying to integrate more what we call e-learning days into our curriculum, as other districts have, so that we're able to ensure students and teachers have that capacity. Part of that is virtual learning, and part of that virtual learning we've done in other ways. I was faced with a situation at Rutland High School this year where in one of our advanced math classes, the students did not have a teacher permanent. They had teacher left beginning of the year, and we had a hard time finding someone. So we went to a virtual teacher for that classroom, and in many ways it was successful. But we had some learning to do as well as they did. And so how students learn classes online, how we use virtual to help us would be important. In the area of CTAE, college and career and agricultural education, it becomes critical as well, because now you're trying to figure out how can you take a device like an engine and open it up so students can virtually take apart an engine, put it back together, and be able to see how that really works when we can't afford to have car engines everywhere. And so I do believe that's a new part of the future that we can have. I'm very hopeful that the initiative that we are part of the chamber with will be successful, and we're looking forward to seeing more progress in that area.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. And there's a couple of other questions that are very relevant to people that do business with the school system. A lot of companies are now having to wait on a payroll protection program to get funding, and they're in kind of delay process as we speak within some of the decisions that have to be made nationally. But they're asking, do you think we'll still have an opportunity to be vendors and suppliers for the school system? And those were some particular questions that came in from local businesses.
I believe so. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to have to continue to have relationships between the school system and our businesses. Again, we're one community, and so I see that continuing. What this pandemic has allowed us to see is that as we've been able to keep our employees on our payroll and continue to have our students learn, it's important, because truthfully, if they're not on our payroll, they're going to be on the employment line and then just trying to get unemployment benefits. And so we're going to keep doing the very best we can to keep it moving forward and to make sure we're productive. I would ask any business that has a relationship with us, just come back and ask us what we can do. Elaine Wilson's a great individual who will be willing to work with them, as well as Cassandra Washington, to share, here's what we think the future holds. But right now, we're looking at continuing our process as it is. Let me give you one example, though, that would be different. At the beginning of the school year, we always have this back to school bash where students are able to get book supplies, and we have large numbers that came to the Centerplex. Right now, I just don't see how that can happen. So we're gonna have to try and do things differently in the way we do it. A lot of churches give away book bags to students at the beginning of the year. I think you're gonna have to see more centers across the county where smaller activities like that are occurring and not look for the large venues as we've seen in the past.
Thank you. And another related question is the parents are asking, what is the kind of things we can expect for being back into school before the fall? What are the kind of plans rolling forward to have the classrooms back and up and running, the kind of time frame, what they can maybe reasonably expect at this point in time?
A great question. I appreciate you asking that. Today, we sent out an announcement saying that we're going to end our e-learning, or this way we've been doing learning for the last few weeks, effective May 1st. The intent is that we've had was to allow students the opportunity to remediate their grades. And we have now seen that thousands of students have done that. So earlier today, I sent an email to the Georgia Department of Education as well as the governor's office saying that we will end e-learning May 1st. We're going to take the month of May to do several things. One is going to be to ensure that we're now ready to close this school year out. We can't begin next school year until we close this year well. That includes being able to get back the devices that we passed out to kids, getting back the textbooks that they have, as well as band instruments, etc. We're also going to have to finalize grades, and part of finalizing grades will help us for next year. I've asked our teaching and learning department, as well as our teachers, to give to each student a list of standards that the students were to learn this year and to share with students where they are in those standards. As we do that, the students can then take that list, decide over the summer where they want to try to focus, do work on their own, but when they come back in August, the new teachers will have that same list, so we'll be able to see where the gaps were. So my request is, do what we've always asked you to do. It's important to keep students reading over the summer so we don't have a large summer slide, and it's important to keep them engaged in productive activities. Exercise will still be good, and I think that we'll be able to do that as well. I think the other thing that we're looking for next year is the federal government is giving out something called CARE. It's one of their bills they just passed. We're looking now at accelerating the one-to-one initiative. And so my hope is that we'll be able to come back in September and have a one-to-one initiative in place for all of our schools. So students will have technology. Let's make sure that they're able to get to the internet. Let's make sure that we're able to implement that. That will be the new change I see for next year.
Great for that timely news. How great that is to hear your strategic plan for reentry and for keeping the educational focus through the summer months, helping students to be better prepared as they come back in and more relaxed about what their options are. That's very comforting to know that y'all have put that kind of thought into the process. You know, mentorships are very important. I just want to give a shout out to the community for today. A record number of people bringing food drops by for the Mentor Project under Gene O'Neill. This community has been wonderful. It's still in operation out in the front of our building, but we've been able to collect that major food for young people that are at risk. And I just want to say the mentorships, the apprenticeships are things that the Chamber wants to continue to be connected with as we go forward. And I know through CTAE and Dr. Washington and our team here at the Chamber, we'll be growing those partnerships that will be very important as businesses step up to help support the classroom and the educational format. So now we'd like to let you have an opportunity for any closing comments before we'll make our day complete with this wonderful town hall, and we give you that opportunity to make some closing comments.
Well, I appreciate that. I had first of all, let me thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this. This is very unique, and I think it's a great way to respond to our community and keep them up to date. I want to share that, again, we are going to close school from e-learning effective May 1st, and we will be going through that process. Parents and community, you should look forward to getting information from us very soon about a schedule for how you can safely turn in that equipment. Principals, we also be talking to our graduating seniors about how they can get their caps and gowns, as well as what we'll be doing with diplomas. I didn't mention it earlier, but we've also decided to postpone graduation from the end of May to the last part of July. It will be July 29th, and 30th. We still are looking at maybe having something at the Centerplex, but it won't be like it was. It'll be where we're still going to have to practice social distancing, and we're going to have to make sure that we reduce the number of people who come for that activity. We also, though, between now and then, are going to keep our eyes on what's happening across the state and make sure that if we do have a graduation, we can do it safely. So we are planning for virtual graduations as well. That also will occur the end of July, July 29th and 30th, if we can have an in-person graduation.
Well, thank you.
I just have to thank everyone for the great work that you've done over the last 6 weeks. You have been amazing. Thank you for what you're doing for our students.
Thank you.
Well,
Dr. Jones, we had one person chat in a question and follow up about summer remediation.
Okay.
What will that look like? Will it be more e-learning?
So summer school, in the past, we've done summer school based on kids who did not pass the milestones. We also have a rubric that looks at that information as well, that's based on our STAR assessment, as well as what we call School City, where we look at the 4 core subject areas. We've now identified the students who would qualify for summer school, and we're going to invite them to come. And it will be virtual learning as well. So what we're going to try and do is take what we've learned over this last 6 weeks and apply it to summer school, so we can even hone it in better and get better. So when we return in August, we'll have the very best e-learning situation possible. So we're currently planning on up to 1,500 students participating in summer school.
And one more question, will the meals end on May 1 as well, or?
We will continue to look at how we do summer feeding. So it will change from what we're doing now because of the pandemic to how we actually do feeding over the summer. We had fewer sites and we were able to provide the food, but again, we're going to have to do it safely. So we will look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Jones, and your full team for being with us today for this town hall. We want to thank the participants in the community for their interest in being with us. This will be an ongoing partnership to help us become even more effective in days ahead as we continue as victors in progress, which is our great connection with you and the community. Your leadership makes a difference. I want the viewers to be sure to check out our resource page for the Chamber's website. There's an ongoing effort to update on the COVID pandemic, have surveys that will help us to design programs for the future. We have Congressman Doug Collins on next Friday with a major update from Washington. We'll have other scheduled guests in the weeks ahead. It's your chance to stay connected, to be part of the Chamber, and help our community have a fabulous way that we're strategically coming towards victory and recovery. And we look for that partnership long term. So everyone have a great weekend, be safe, and keep the faith.
Thank you, Vaughn.